Authority Board of Directors meeting for Wednesday, April 26th. The time is 6:10. Item 2, roll call. Vice President Baker.
Here.
Secretary Thompson.
Present.
Director Anderson.
Here.
Director Flores.
Here.
Director Kirkland.
Here.
And I'm here. All right, citizen communication. Is anyone signed up to address? Okay, we're moving on. And it's so lovely to see all of you, whether you want to talk to us or not. Item 4A, consider approval of the BCRUA meeting minutes for March 22nd, 2023.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, motion passes. Resolutions. 5A, consider a resolution authorizing the general manager to purchase approximately 1,400 linear foot of 36-inch ductile iron pipe from Smith Pump Company Incorporated, subject to the approval of the participating cities. Ms. Bondi, I'm like, Madam.
Thank you, Madam President. As we briefed you last month, BCRUA is replacing approximately 1,400 linear feet of ductile iron pipeline, the 36-inch underwater pipeline that we've been working on over the past year and a half. And we are wanting to expedite that project. So what we're planning to do is have BCRUA pre-purchase the pipe materials while we are completing the design on the actual construction of installing that pipeline. And that will save us a few months on the total contract period. So what we've done is working through Buy Board, which is a venue purchasing cooperative that municipalities can use, that's already run competitive procurement processes for the vendors that they use. And we have identified a company, Smith Pipe Company, that can provide us these materials. And this item would be to allow staff to move forward with a contract with Smith Pump to procure the pipeline that will allow us to probably reduce the construction schedule by about 3 months. The cost of the pipeline is that you'll see in your packet is $2.26 million, but they will offer us a 3% reduction. That would bring it down to $2.16 million if we make payment within 10 days of the invoice. And I've already alerted our accounting staff to look for that. Our construction with this would allow us, we would be purchasing the project, purchasing the materials in May, and then we'll concurrently be moving forward with putting out the actual construction of the pipeline replacement project this year, with a goal of getting it all completed by March of 2024, before our water demands increase due to moving towards the summer. So I'd be happy to answer any questions. So we have our engineer, Aaron Archer for Walker Partners here also, who could provide any additional information.
Have we worked with Smith Pump Company before?
Yes, they've been around for probably over 40 years. We do use them for purchasing pumps and motors, so they've got a good reputation.
Thank you.
Okay. So the resolution is before us.
Make a motion to approve 5A.
Second.
Okay, motion and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Resolution passes. Item 5B, consider a resolution approving submittal of the 2023 SWIFT application to the Texas Water Development Board. Ms. Bondi.
Thank you, Madam President. This item is to allow BCRUA to obtain loans, low-interest loans from the Texas Water Development Board. The reason that we are seeking these additional funds is twofold. When we had actually procured proposals from the Phase 2 deep water intake, we determined that the cost of the contract was going to use all of the contingency funds that we had available for this 5-year project. So the operating committee deliberated on what we might want to do to make sure that we did have funds available for potential changes in the contract. Not that we're anticipating anything, but in a lengthy contract, you could understand that things might change. And then we also realized that the other 2 projects that were included in the original loan procurements, the Phase 1D water treatment plant, and then the permanent power project for the Phase 2 with Pernell's Electric Co-op, that those costs were also going to escalate from what we had originally estimated. So we are in this total proposal of additional funding. We had identified additional $4 million for Phase 1D, $6 million for the permanent power project, and $35 million for Phase 2. Because this is a multi-year project, what the operating committee wanted to do in consultation with all the financial directors was to go ahead and plan for an additional $30 million for starting in 2024, and that we would have time if it did look like costs escalated beyond that. If we needed more, we could go back in for additional SWIFT funding. In addition, Round Rock had previously planned for their portion of this funding to use their cash funds, and they have now determined that they would like to come back in for Water Development Board's funding for all what they had previously planned on for cash. So that is the bond funding that we will be applying for. Right now, Leander intends to use for this additional funding that I just talked about. They're planning to use local funds for that. And Cedar Park intends to use local funds for its share of Phase 1D, as they have an ARPA grant for that. So the remainder is Cedar Park applying for $7.6 million and Round Rock applying for about $90.5 million. And Round Rock is going to be a multi-year loan. So to talk about the process that we're about to go through, we have our financial advisor, Gary Kimball from Specialized Public Finance here. And Gary's going to tell us what to expect.
Thank you, Karen. Good evening. This is a continuation of a process that started long ago of going and getting Texas Water Development Board money whenever it makes sense to do so, and it definitely does now, especially for the Round Rock piece that had otherwise been earmarked to be paid for by cash. That was when cash was earning 0.25%, and now it's earning almost 5%. The Water Development Board money, if we were to close it today, would be 3% money. So it makes a lot more sense to go ahead and get some of that locked in at pretty attractive rates. If you take the subsidy that's offered by the Texas Water Development Board for the SWIFT funds, it's pretty significant. So for a 25-year bond issue, which is what the City of Round Rock's multi-phase takedowns are envisioned to be, there's a 14% state subsidy to whatever the prevailing bond market rate is at the time. We've run the numbers on the Round Rock piece, and that's a $5.2 million net present value benefit, all things being equal. So kind of a no-brainer. If you add in the Cedar Park money, they actually get a 25% state subsidy because they're doing shorter-term financing through the program. It gets us up to almost $6 million worth of net present value benefit, and that equates to almost $10 million worth of actual dollars saved because of the interest rate subsidy. So makes a lot of financial sense. The process actually goes back to January when Aaron's firm submitted the abridged application to get us in line for consideration, or the Texas Water Development Board. We were selected to make a full application. That application is due May the 8th, and this action allows us to go ahead and submit that application. Water Board will take action this summer. Expect that that'll be in July to approve our application or not. And then in August, we'll be back in front of you because the Water Board will then ask us to promise that we're going to take the money from them if they run out to the bond market and sell the bonds to fund our piece. So this is step 2 in what will be several more action items for the board to consider before you actually go into debt for these applications. And that's really what I had to share tonight, but I would be happy to answer any questions that anyone might have.
And Cedar Park also is taking it to your city council tomorrow. Is that right? Yeah. Okay. And then Richard Donahue is also here. He's our bond counsel from McCall Parkhurst. Is there anybody has any lawyerly questions? Any questions for Gary?
All right,
Thank you.
thank you. Resolution.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, a motion, a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Resolution passes. Item 5C, consider a resolution authorizing the president to execute supplemental agreement number 1 with Walker Partners for engineering services for the delivery point and raw water valve improvements project. Ms. Bobby.
Thank you, Madam President. BCRUA treats and distributes finished water to the cities of Cedar Park, Leander, and Round Rock from our treated water delivery system through 6 existing delivery points, and Round Rock is planning 1 additional delivery point. And then there's also, we deliver untreated water to Leander as well through another delivery point. The 6th Amendment to the Master Agreement that you all approved in December of 2021 specified that the delivery point improvements would be made to allow BCR to regulate and control the rate of flow and to provide backflow prevention devices in all of these delivery points. The master agreement also allowed that BCRUA would standardize the types of equipment between all these delivery points, because with each city having built them for their own use, we really don't have coordinated types of materials or control systems for all of these delivery points. So we contracted with Walker Partners in July to provide preliminary engineering to assess each one of these delivery points and then identify improvements that would be needed to both add the controls and standardize the equipment within each of these take points. And the initial contract was just under $50,000. This supplemental agreement 1 includes engineering services for designing the improvements that had been identified. Walker Partners had produced a pretty lengthy technical memo that looked at each delivery point and identified what sort of improvements we would be needing, such as a lot of control work as well as valving and new junction boxes that the operating committee has been reviewing over the past few months. So what we are now ready to do is identify which of the improvements are going to be made. We are planning to move forward right now with all of the control portions of the improvements, and the operating committee is still deliberating on which of those standardization improvements will be done now or versus deferred for a later time. So we, in the supplemental agreement number 1, the design would be completed. The goal would be to get that done in September. Then the opinions of probable construction costs will be developed, and we would return to you to allow us to be able to open proposals in October. The full scope of the work looks like it might take up to a year. and we'll look and see which of those improvements could be done expedited so we could stage them and get them done as quickly as possible. And we'll be working on that over the next couple of months. So the total compensation for supplemental amendment number 1 is $371,987, which would increase the total lump sum for all this work that's been done to date is $421,629. We have Walker Partners here to answer any questions. Operating committees, like I mentioned, been very heavily involved and can also help answer any questions you might have.
And so, oh, go ahead. I was gonna say, so this is important so that we're ensuring that everyone is within their contractually stipulated usage, correct?
That's right.
Okay. And then you said something about deferring. Why would we defer if we're trying to expedite and get this done within a year?
Yes, that's a good question. So as we were going through all the improvements, it looked like they were going to be quite costly. And we knew that with the discussions with the board that we wanted to make sure that we had the ability to control the flows to adhere to our contract requirements. But in terms of making sure that all the equipment was pretty much the same at each location, since there had already been a pretty heavy investment in the equipment. Some of them are several $100,000. The operating committee began discussing whether we could first try to achieve the flow control goal, and then maybe just due to cost, defer some of the standardization type improvements until we, so it could be included in the CIPs and planned for at the cost that we're seeing.
And I know, talking with the Cedar Park OC folks, I know this is a high priority for us. I mean, I don't know if you've had a chance to really visit it with your folks, Matt and Renee, but I think, are we comfortable with this? Talking to your groups, I don't know if you had a chance to talk to your OC about it. Okay.
So I think for us, the priority on the flow control is certainly there. The standardization, I think, is whatever works in the schedule.
Yeah,
but
sure.
The flow control, I think, is certainly important to us. Absolutely. Follow-up question, if I can. So on the standardization, I was just curious, reading through here. So it looks like the delivery points are not standardized. So I guess a two-part question. Are currently each city maintaining those standardized points to their own because of the equipment that was put in? That's the first question. Second question, when it is standardized, would each city still maintain them, or would BCRUA then maintain them as a whole? How does that look?
Well, we are in a transition phase right now. So some are being operated by BCRUA and some are being operated by the cities. But the goal is, and everybody agrees on this, that we will ultimately BCRUA will have control.
Okay. And maintain them.
And maintain them.
Okay.
Yes. Although the cost of each delivery point, for maintenance or whatever would be required, would be billed directly to the city, each city.
Based on whose delivery point it is. Okay.
And as far as the funding piece, are we comfortable? Again, Nicole, I don't know if you've had a chance to talk to your folks or this has been presented to you. I know we had a pre-meeting, so I was familiar with it. So we're going to move forward.
I'll let Director Grinsbo come up and he could talk to what they're comfortable with as far as this goes on the delivery point. Not to put you on the spot, but thank you. I know you have more information.
Dan Grimsbo, the Executive Director of Infrastructure for the City of Leander, and yes, we're comfortable with it. We're trying to get the design and, of course, the controls standardized first, but there was quite a bit of cost, and so kind of a little bit of a step back on the standardization. What does that mean? And for Leander, does it? Some of the some of the points are not as critical as others, and so let's focus on like for us, the larger one, which is the Ronald Reagan tank point. Let's focus on that one, and so we can move forward.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. All right, resolution.
Motion to approve 5C.
Second.
Okay, motion and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolution passes. Moving on. All right, Director, closing comments. Go on down the line.
Yeah, good evening.
Good night.
I just want to thank y'all on the financing side. Anytime we can save several millions of dollars, I appreciate y'all thinking outside the box. That's. I wish that would make the news, but it won't. But thank y'all for doing that. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
And I want to thank y'all too. I know there was a lot of discussion about some of these things, and when these pieces prop up and it's more cost, I mean, that's kind of the nature of what we're in right now. So I appreciate the conversations. I hope everyone's friends at the end of the day, because it is a little bit, I know, difficult, but I think Mr. Powers too for your guidance throughout all of this piece as well. So good night. Thank you.